Welcome to Noble Garden Studios. We're live. I'm Squishy Tree Fish, and I'm sitting here with Mary-Margaret. Thank you for being on the show. I know you had to make a special trip for this, so I really appreciate you being here. I'm very excited to have you. Very excited.
I'm happy to be here.
So, right off the bat, I have to ask you about this guitar. Like, look at this. This guitar has had some history. Tell us about it.
This guitar is a Takamine that was given to my late husband by a man named Hank Cochran, who is a legendary songwriter in Nashville, Tennessee. We were in a car wreck, and so his guitar was destroyed, and Hank gave him this as a way to keep playing.
Oh wow, that's really special. Okay, I see a lot of writing on it. Can you tell us about some of that?
Yeah. Well, the story behind that was my husband would never even consider letting anyone autograph a guitar. I think he thought that was kind of tacky. But the first time I played, 2.5 years after his death, I had come home to Western Kentucky from Lexington, and I was at the Coffee Cup, a place in Mayfield, and the guitar and 3 other instruments were stolen.
Oh no.
So, unfortunately, the other instruments were not recovered, but this one was because it had an autograph on it from Chet Atkins, who I dearly love and used to eat with in Nashville at a place. And so, anyway, I think the autograph saved it, so I made a vow right then and there that from then on, I was going to let anybody sign it who wanted to. And there's everybody from Selena Pink, who is one of my favorite blues singers, to Willie, Bill Monroe, just ordinary people who just like my music. So,
you said you had done a show with Willie at the Big E, right?
Yes, that was many years ago when Executive Inn was there. I was with a woman who is a wonderful blues singer named Bonnie Bramlett from Bonnie and Delaney, and she had cut 2 of my songs in Nashville and was talking about Willie playing, and I thought it was apropos because my husband is from Paducah. I love the Big E and I love Willie, and I worked for Willie's publishing company owned by him, Hank Cochran, and Glenn Martin.
Right.
And I loved it. We had a great time that night.
So you worked on how many albums for Polygram and Warner Chappell?
Now, each place I wrote at, I worked on my own albums. Okay, so it varied from place to place. At Polygram, I did my first because that was the first place I ever was a songwriter, and I worked with Doug Johnson, a producer. And then when I left there, I went to Hank Cochran's. As I said, Glenn Martin managed me, and my husband wrote for their company, which is called Cohort Music in Nashville. And they helped to advance my career and to teach me to write and to perform and to get in doors I couldn't otherwise get in because Hank Cochran was a legend.
Yeah, yes. You are a legend. You don't know it, but you are.
Probably, but no. Hank's a legend. That's they call him the legend. He wrote "I Fall to Pieces," "Make the World Go Away."
I
he brought great
fall
songwriters
to
like Carmen Howard
pieces.
and Willie Nelson in Nashville, and he was a good man.
Tell us about your husband Rusty. He was like a bluegrass picker, right?
Yeah, he was
like amazing.
I love bluegrass. Of course, I'm in country, but I love bluegrass, and we were when we were married, we had moved from Western Kentucky to what I call Central. It's really not, but it's called the home of bluegrass. It's called Jerusalem Ridge, and we were looking for a home because we played up in that area a lot in Owensboro and places thereabout, Henderson and stuff, in the beginning of my career. And so it was just a way to find a place that was central. And a friend of ours named Kathy took us to the actual home of Bluegrass, Jerusalem Ridge, and I fell in love. It's 1,100 acres of 100-year-old timber. Charlie Monroe built a house there, and the house was in disrepair, but I saw it as heaven. And I lived there until my husband passed away, and he's still buried up there in the home of Bluegrass in Rosine.
That's in Kentucky, right?
Yeah, Rosine,
Kentucky is the home of where all bluegrass came from. That's one thing I like about bluegrass. It's a real Kentucky original.
It is
really, born right here in the bluegrass state.
Right from here, and it really comes from old, Irish string band, that genre. I always call it the blues sped up, because there was an old black man that lived in Horton Gap down there by my house, and the Monroes had 6 or 7 of them, and they would play with him, and he played the blues, and so his name was Arnold Schultz, and I think they just got bored of going slow and sped it up and called it bluegrass. That's my take on it. But my husband was a really great banjo player and played guitar and was a great songwriter and singer, and we were partners.
I would have to lend that theory some credence, because they say basically punk music is blues with kind of a beat removed, you know.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
Bluegrass, blues music, in a lot of ways, is the roots for everything.
Right. I agree.
Jazz and blues. Almost all American music has its roots there someplace.
Right.
You know.
It's storytelling.
It either comes out of the old English ballads or it comes out of blues.
Right. And blues is, I mean, if you think about bluegrass, it is the blues sped up. I mean, it has its roots in, like you say, in the storytelling and in the techniques of, you know, of how they play, the slide or whatever. But, you know, I believe very much it's the blues sped up. And he was a really good player. He really had a great life and a great run in music. He played for years before me and done an album called Splitwater Creek, and it was a really good album. And then he and I got together and started making music and started slow, and we're very fortunate to find our place to Nashville.
What, you have an album, Unplowed
Ground.
Unplowed Ground. Tell us about that.
Okay, so every place you go and become a songwriter, you're asked to, at some point, write your signature song. And I think I was at that time, I had made it all the way to Warner Chapel and hadn't written one yet. And, you know, you try to think of what your life is, like The Coal Miner's Daughter is Loretta Lynn, or The Coat of Many Colors is Dolly Parton. And I tried to assimilate what my life was and what it meant to me. And I came up with, I had the good fortune to live in Harlan County when I was a little kid, and the mountains saved me. They gave me grace and spiritual and beauty and taught me to love nature. And so I came up with a song with my husband called Unplowed Ground that is my life story.
Would you want to... Okay. Is there a place that people could go listen to it or buy it or purchase it?
Unfortunately, right now there's not. I mean, you could get it from me, or I guess they can get it from you if they want to. I have plenty of copies. I just haven't been in the music industry for quite a while. And, of course, Warner Chapel, I'm sure, has it. But, I mean, as far as I don't really aspire to sell CDs, but I would, I guess, like anybody would, if somebody wanted it.
If chasing the life of music, there's a lot of self-pity involved. That's what I've learned. Like, there's a lot of emotion involved. Self-pity is one of those, and you can turn those into beautiful songs too. So there's an upside.
I try to look at the bright side of stuff, and I try to write from hope and from. Although I will say sad songs are my favorite. Torch songs move me more. But I do try to write from a place that sometimes it starts and it's sad, but it ends happy. That's just been a trademark for me. Everybody has their own. You know?
I'm the opposite. Starts happy, ends sad.
Oh.
Yeah, or mad. So, but that's the grunge thing, you know.
I've written a few songs from being mad. You know, when somebody uses an oxymoron and it doesn't make sense to me, it seems like it should not. That's not quite how I perceive it. I'll write a song as a retort to their, you know, to answer them back.
Everybody's got different places when it comes to songwriting. I mean, like,
it can come from happy, come from sad. It can come from, you know, just an
retort.
Opinion. And, yeah.
So, you recently had an accident, right?
Mm-hmm.
And which is makes it even more special that you were able to make it. She was actually supposed to have been a couple weeks ago, but she wasn't really feeling up to it, obviously. So I'm really glad you made it in. I'm glad you look like you're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
I was really concerned based on everything you described. I was like, oh wow, like that, you know. So I'm glad you look like you're doing
that.
good.
Healing takes time, and if you're patient, it will come. So.
Yeah, it's true. If you're patient, it will come.
Patience is not my best virtue, but I try.
Hopefully, we got some viewers now tuning in. So thank you for tuning in, guys. And if you have any questions or anything for Mary, anything like that, just post in the comment section below, and I'll try to field them as soon as they appear. And if I see them at all, this doesn't refresh the way it's supposed to, so I'll try to keep an eye out. What is, as a singer-songwriter, what has been the greatest challenge for you?
The greatest challenge, well, I mean, to date would have to be the loss of my husband because we were partners. But as far as a singer-songwriter, it was finding my footing in that. I knew so many great songwriters. I loved, you know, my life has been built around great songwriters, from John Prine to Townes Van Zandt to Rodney Crowell, Harry Chapin, you know, Cat Stevens. I just love.
I love Cat Stevens, which I think he's now Yusef Israel.
Yusef, yes, and has a new album.
I saw him I saw his NPR Tiny Music Desk, and I was like, as far as I'd known, Cat Stevens had been pretty quiet for a long time, and then I saw him on the NPR Tiny Music Desk. I was like, oh man, it's like Cat Stevens.
It's still Cat Stevens. I think that's one of the things that people, you know, who are inspired, who are truly great musicians, it's like they don't stop at a certain age or start at a certain age. It's when you're inspired, and it's generally for a lifetime, I've found, and so far it's been that way for me. And I think it ebbs and flows. He took a break to find himself in another place, and so he's coming from that place. And to me, both places are good.
He's still an amazing performer and songwriter.
He's an extraordinary musician.
I'll be a fan for life.
Me too.
You lived on Music Row.
I did. I lived at 1606, 16th Avenue. What prompted that was I had been raised in the country my entire life and was quite afraid of the city and traffic. And I told my husband that, you know, it just didn't seem right or safe if we weren't close to where we wanted to work. It would make everything a lot better. We were very fortunate because when I got a writer's deal, I was able to still spend half my time in my home in Kentucky, which is where I drew a lot of my inspiration. It's quiet, it's peaceful, and it's musical because it's an area where it's known for music. So, but I love Music Row. It put us available to be near people who were inspiring, like, you know, Dave Loggins, who sang on one of my albums, and just Hank Cochran and Harlan Howard. And when they'd write a song, you'd get to hear it first, or, you know, great songwriters could stop by and you'd be right there available to them. And so
I got to tell you, it's one of the things I like about having a studio. I've had so many people come in here, and it's like the first time they ever performed a song, and so I got to hear it first. You know, I got to hear it before anybody else. And I have stuff on reel here that people have recorded, and they'll be like, "Oh, I don't really like it," you know, but like it's beautiful, you know. And so the world will never get to hear it, you know. Like it's all hidden in here. So hopefully one day they'll be proud enough of it or whatever to let the world hear it, you know. But you get to hear a lot of beautiful things in the studio that no one else ever gets to hear.
And that's the dynamic you need in order to grow as a songwriter and as an entertainer, is to be amongst people who are like-minded, whether they're in the same genre or not. Because people think of Nashville as country, but we had blues and we had rock, and so you were able to be with great musicians at all times. I mean, you know, I saw the Fabulous Thunderbirds there, and I saw Selena Pink, a great blues singer, and, you know, just different influences that gave you a wide spectrum, you know what I mean? And so you were able to draw from those things, and it kind of just, it bolsters you to know that people of different genres enjoy what you do.
I've found over time, when I first started getting into the music, I played by myself a lot, and I never felt confident to really jam with anybody. And then I started jamming with my buddy Lush, and then my buddy Cass. And over time, I found that as I jammed with more people, I was developing a much bigger toolkit. You know, like even in my just private practice, I was taking stuff away from these jams, new things. And it's probably collaboration and sitting down with other like-minded artists and stuff like that. It may be the most important thing you can do for musical growth.
I agree, because I think that when you're you know, trying to hone your craft, that the best thing you can do is, you know, hang with the people, one, who do tend to lean more toward your, like I love John Prine, and I love Hank Cochran, and they're totally different, okay? Because John Prine is a different kind of storyteller than Hank.
We love John Prine.
Oh, I love John Prine. What a great soul. I'll miss him forever. But anyway, if you take these people and you realize, like when I'm writing a song, a lot of times I don't know until after it's over where I stole it, because I always believe we steal everything we write. But it's really pulling from the people that influence you, and the way that they influence you, and that kind of directs you in your own, when you find your own, because I believe that after some time, I mean, I wasn't as good a songwriter before my husband passed as after, because I spent all my time with songwriters, and I admired their work so much, I didn't have the confidence to find my own. But after he passed, I had things to say about it, and it helped me to process that. And so, you know, then you realize that, yes, I've taken this from John Prine, or I've taken what I learned from Hank Cochran, or Glenn Martin, or Townes Van Zandt, or Mickey Newbury, who was one of my greatest influences.
Oh,
you know?
wow.
So I tried to take those things that they taught me and incorporate them into my own.
What in your career, what has been your most memorable collaboration?
Collaboration?
Yeah.
For sure, my husband on Unplowed Ground. You know, and only because when you're collaborating with people, a lot of times one side will out, as it were, and become the stronger influence. Where if you can get with somebody that you connect with, like we did, it's evenly marked. He was patient. He was strong in his convictions, and so was I. And so we would go for the best, what word suited the situation, what described this best. And it didn't matter which one of us it wasn't a competition. It was more about, you know, making a reason for the rhyme. Instead of just looking for rhymes, which a lot of people do, we wanted the rhyme to have reason.
You was working on a song earlier. Would you feel comfortable doing it now?
Sure.
This is I'm telling you folks, this is beautiful. I'm gonna go ahead and quiet my mic for this one. What you're getting ready to hear is gonna just knock your socks off. All right, here we go.
Is this where he goes? Is this the inside of a honky-tonk? Well, I don't feel nothing here that don't feel wrong. Yes, it's damp, it's dark, and it's smoky, and it feels so alone. I don't feel nothing here that don't feel wrong. Is this where he goes when he leaves me all alone? This is what is known as his second home. Does he trade my company for strangers that he knows? And when I need to find him, is this where he goes? It's damp, it's dark, and it's smoky, and it feels so alone. I don't feel nothing here that don't feel wrong. It's dark and it's smoky, and it feels so alone. What does he feel here? He don't feel smoky, and it feels so alone. What does he feel here? He don't feel at home. It's damp, it's dark, and it's smoky.
Okay, we got to hear the story behind the song.
It's a bar, you know. It's like you think. I think about because I've worked in a lot of clubs, and you think about all the time that women and men spend in these clubs away from home, and how the people in these bars become closer to them sometimes than their own families. And I thought I had a friend that said all he does is hang out in the honky tonk, and that's all it took. You know, because, you know, you go in and you're going, what is it? It's damp, it's dark, and it's smoky, you know? And what does he see? And it tells the story of this is just what some people find in their story.
I find that sometimes just a good phrase is all you need for a good song. I've written a couple songs that way. Somebody said something, and it just lends itself to a song, you know? And, we actually have a local bar here called Lucky's, and they do an open mic night there, and I've been going there for a number of years. I go for the open mic night, sometimes to listen, sometimes to play, you know. But what you're talking about there, how they kind of become like a little family,
yeah,
you know, it's totally true.
Yeah.
Like the open mic night.
And you're wondering, you know, and women who are not, let's just say I'm going from the woman's perspective, but when you're not, that isn't your genre, because they're home with the kids or they're working or whatever, they're trying to figure out, what is that, you know, what is it that brings him here? And that's the perspective I was trying to come from on that. It was just like, what do people see here that would make them feel more want to be here than with me, you know?
I can see just from that first song how much insight goes into your song, and how deeply you've taken away from the things you've encountered in life. They say you sing what you know.
Yeah, I think you should. I think things that, you know, I remember one time Loretta Lynn said that to me. We were talking about songs and picking songs, and it was in the very beginning of my
You've
career.
met Loretta Lynn?
Yeah, I met her in Nashville, and she was so sweet, and I was so scared, but she said, never sing a song that you don't truly love, because somebody in the audience is going to hear that song, and they're going to love it, and you're going to be singing it the rest of your life. So I sort of made that my goal, is to make sure that all the songs that I try to do, and the way I try to write, are songs that I want to share, and I want to do again and again, because you're going to do them again and again.
So the lesson is never sing a song you don't want to sing 1,000 times.
Don't never do a song you don't like. You know, there's not been too many occasions in my life where I will sing a song, you know, after I've written it and say, oh, I really just can't stand this. That's just not, because I try to take the time when I write to have something to say. But songs are like babies. They grow up and they leave you, you know. So some songs that meant so much to you in the beginning, over time, become, you know, kind of old hat, and you might take them for granted because, you know, you did them 30 years ago. You know?
No, I feel you on that. I finally hit that point in my musical careers where I wrote a song, I think, in my 20s, and it's become my cross to bear, you know. It's called The Girl You Love. It's a punk song. And I wrote it a long time ago, but it's like the one that everyone always asks for, you know. It's like do the girl you love.
Exactly what she was talking about. That's exactly it. You know you're going to be doing this song forever, so
right.
Be careful what you put out there because of that, because you're definitely going to be caught in it. And sometimes it's good because maybe, to me, I look at it like it may be something that I don't connect with now, but if someone else does, it's certainly my job as an entertainer to be entertaining and do what they like.
You are certainly entertaining.
Well,
you're just a hoot to hang out with. I'm telling you.
Thank you. That's very funny.
I had something else I was going to say, and it's completely left my brain. I don't know how it happens.
Would you like me to do a song while you think of it?
No, I almost got it.
Got it.
I think. Okay, so let's head back to Nashville, and let's head back to your very beginnings.
Okay.
in music. Let's talk about the day you broke. You know what I mean? Like, when's the day you went from just picking to paid picker? What
Well,
tell us about that
paid
transition.
picker, as far as I was a singer for 6 years before I moved to Nashville, and I traveled on the road. But when I got to Nashville, I had been there 4 months, and I was a very fortunate person. I hope that it was my gift that got me looked at. There was a woman, 2 women actually, named Pamela Brown, who was a great singer-songwriter, and a friend of hers named Tootie Jackson. And they helped me get it looked at Polygram. And a guy named Bob Kirsch, president of Polygram Potion, liked what he saw and thought that he could, teach me, and thought that I could benefit from being there. And so
I think he was right.
I shared an office with Marty Stewart and Costas, great songwriters and pickers. Marty Stewart let me play on Hank Singer's guitar, which was amazing. So
Oh,
that was
wow.
when I considered I broke, because I got to touch Hank Singer's guitar.
That sounds like the
Marty
moment.
Stewart was just a graceful, kind, generous soul, and that was something he certainly didn't have to do. But we shared an office with him and Pamela Brown and Costas. They were totally different writers and singers, so you were able to learn from their influences. Bob McDill was there, and these songwriters, they're available to you because they're in the hallways. You know what I'm saying? And so you can learn by either doing demos for them, or co-writing with them, or having an office where you can bring other co-writers in. So to me, that's when it started, and with that.
That is I couldn't imagine, on the daily, in the office with these greats, like.
Well, now they weren't there. That was with Bob Kirsch. Okay, Pamela got me an interview, and I did things a little more unorthodox, kind of old school, because I am old school, and but I was a young girl at the time, and I didn't know any better, and I talked him into letting me sing live. And I asked my husband, of course, at the time I didn't play guitar, and he went with me and played guitar for me, and we sang live, and I think they thought that was pretty brash, but it was just what I knew. It was the element I felt comfortable in, is live, because performers who work in clubs and work out for a living are always going to be more comfortable on stage. And so I felt like it was a little stage, and I visioned it as such, and he liked what he heard. And
I think the music industry is a place where brash is still respected,
I don't know. Sometimes it works out for you, and sometimes I guess it doesn't. I was just authentic, I think, and I think they saw that I wasn't trying to be anyone else, and I was going to do my best work, which would either work or not. And so I tried to look at it from that focus point. Is this is only my best. There's people who are better, there's people who are worse. Everybody has room to grow. And I knew I could grow because they had great songwriters there and great musicians, and they had access to great producers. And so I knew that I would learn a lot there, and I did. I learned a whole lot.
If you're just tuning in, this is Noble Garden Studios, where stars grow. We're sitting and we're talking with Mary-Margaret. She is certainly in my eyes a Nashville legend. She has been in the studios and on the streets of Nashville, and she has accomplished a lot, and I hope to one day accomplish as much as you have. I'm really impressed with you.
Well, I'm thanking you. I think accomplished and success is relative. I feel successful in that I have experienced a lot. I think experience is success, and I think the journey is success. And my journey has been long and been filled with a lot of great influences. People that, if I had not left Kentucky, I would never have, come across some of the influences I have, by going like to New Orleans or going to Texas. It was just, they were so different, the culture of people, even though we're in the United States, different cultures have different ways of expressing their music. In New Orleans, I learned Zydeco, which I thought was one of the greatest musics because it was rhythmatic, and I loved the people that performed it because they performed with heart. And that's what I kind of look for in my journey, is people with heart like you who want to enjoy
Thank you.
the journey, you know, because success is the journey. It's not where you end up necessarily, it's how you go through the journey.
I think if I think you're right. Success is the journey itself. It's because when you get where you're going, you stop. You know,
Right.
and there's no locomotion after that. And I think I would probably find that very boring.
Well, I think I find that the most successful entertainers are the people who love change, who are always looking for the next thing. Not necessarily, you know, mainly where it concerns life. You know, that they're willing to accept that life is going to throw curveballs at you. Life is going to go up and down. And that no matter what that is, while you're in that place, you accept that place and either ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Or what is this here to teach me? You know, or what can I give back from what I've learned? And that's what the journey is for me. So that's what I consider success.
That is deep.
Oh, I don't know about deep. I just, you know what I'm saying though? It's like finding your way, and, you know, like losing my husband was a huge path in my journey. My path changed immediately.
I can imagine that would leave
And
quite a
so
hole in a person.
It took a long time, and I was trying to figure out, what is this here to teach me? And it was to teach me that I could write and I could sing by myself, and I had something to say.
You most
And
certainly
instead of
can and
always
do.
saying other people's, you know, I had made a career out of knowing great songwriters like Hank Cochran, and I could just go through their catalog and pick a song, and that would be the song I do, and that was great in that moment, and certainly was a blessing beyond anything I could have ever dreamed of. But when I learned to write and learned to express my own self, it changed the dynamics of the way I perceive the world and how I say what I say.
You seem like you had a song for us a minute ago.
Oh, I was just gonna fill in a blank for you, but if you don't mind, I'd like to do one of my late husband's songs, because one, I love his writing and I always try to include him in my stuff. And two, it seems that these days, some songs that, like we were talking about earlier, that you may have written 25 or 30 years ago, come back to you and they actually fit in that moment. And so this was one I was just pulled out of the sack the other day because I really like it. It's called My Own Disaster.
My Own
And,
Disaster.
It's a country song.
I like the title.
Thank you. But it seems apropos for these times.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn my mic down for this one.
There's been another earthquake out in Southern California. There's flooding in the Midwest as far as you can see. And over on the southeast coast, the hurricanes are blowing. But I've got my own disaster going here in Tennessee. The foundation that we built on has begun to shake and crumble. The high tides and hard times have slowly washed away the love that we once shared as the storms began to rumble. We both saw it coming, but our pride stood in the way. I've had my own disaster, and it can't be like before. I've survived the morning after, the angry words and the slamming doors, and the tears that fell like daggers that cut us both apart. Now I wander through the rubble, what used to be my heart. Now the wind has died down and the storm has finally passed. There's broken pieces all around of a love that didn't last. But picking up what now remains would be a waste of time. To relive this catastrophe is the last thing on my mind. I've had my own disaster, and it can't be like before. I've survived the morning after, the angry words and the slamming doors, and the tears that fell like daggers that cut us both apart. Now I wander through the rubble of what used to be my heart. There's been another earthquake out in Southern California. us it first gone out here in Tennessee, at least for me.
One of our viewers wants you to know you have a beautiful voice.
Pardon me?
One of our viewers wants you to know you have a beautiful voice.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And it really is too. A very powerful voice.
Seems to be the blessing. That seems to be the blessing I was given.
Sometimes my brain
That's okay, mine
it likes
too.
to stop for no good reason. So we actually met over at
Dalton's.
at Dalton's place during was it a Thanksgiving or
Pardon me?
was it a birthday party or
I don't remember. It
some
was a
kind
party. I just remember that.
some kind of get together.
Yeah, it was a get together.
And I had brought my guitar because I tote the thing everywhere I go, and I'm really glad I did because I got to sit and kind of jam with you for a little bit.
Yep.
And it was just, and I knew right then, like, I was like, she has got to be at Howl at the Moon. So I asked her to come to Howl at the Moon, and she said it was a strong maybe, I think. So, which isn't quite a yes. And then I think, didn't you say you were going to do Howl, or can't remember.
Pardon me?
But the Howl at the Moon, remember the
Mhm.
festival, which is one of the reasons I invited you, because one of the things I've been doing with the podcast, I've had a lot of local acts that were going to be at the show, and they didn't get an opportunity because of apocalypse, and I've been trying to. This is my way of thanking them and trying to highlight them. So. One of the things.
It's really kind because it's you know I see these podcasts as a way for people to connect, like you say, by Zoom, you know, and necessarily you can't be with people, but you can still share music, and sharing music is it's a great antidepressant. You know,
I agree.
It's a way to lift you up, even if it's a sad song, it can lift you up.
I think so, or at least make you cry, you know, and get them tears out of the way, and then you feel better, you know.
The isolation, though, can be something that inspires you too. You know what I'm saying? I caught myself fixated on a few things that's happened in recent days, and my mind is swirling with the ideas of how to put them on paper, and I'm isolated so I can do that. You know?
It can be useful. It's helped me a lot. This whole COVID thing. I've had a lot of time to really get my guitar together. You know, like better understand it as an instrument, and I've been working on my singing voice too. It's still not where I want it yet, but I'll get there. Okay, let me ask you, do you think that you can learn to sing?
I absolutely believe you can. I did. I mean, I know that I believe that there are gifted people and there are talented people. And talented people tend to be those who practice, and they read music and they're technical. And gifted people are somebody who wake up and it's just there. And you can be both. And I think that I've been blessed with both. I didn't know I could sing until I did, but I learned to hone that craft from the better people who were talented and taught me and inspired me to practice. And so I do believe you can absolutely learn to sing, and I believe you can learn to sing better.
Right. I'm glad to hear you say that. One of the things I remember watching a couple. I heard people say this, and I've seen it said you can't learn to sing. You know, and I'm thinking that's ridiculous because I've been teaching myself to sing and how to stay in key and this kind of thing, and I'm hearing it. And my friends have been hearing the improvement over the years. You know, like when I first started singing, it was a very rough thing. It was not very good, but I think I've been getting better. So I think you can learn to sing.
I know that people can. I know that the voice I have now is not the voice I had in the beginning, and it's not the voice I'm going to have in the future. And that it's like wine. It gets better with time and practice, and it gets more attuned. You listen more as you get older. You tend to. You get more confidence. I think when when people give you accolades, that certainly helps, you know. And it's always great to have someone, if you can, to share it with, whether they're teaching or inspiring, whatever the word you use for it. But when somebody inspires you, when somebody gives you accolades for what you're doing, it builds you up to a place where confidence can push you to be better, to work harder, to go longer, you know. And the longer you do anything, of course you're gonna get better at it, you know. I mean, and I just don't believe that, you know, you have to start when you're 3 years old. I was 20, so I mean, I know that that's not true. And so you just gotta practice.
I would like to say I started when I was 20. When I was 20, I think I wrote a better part of my songs in my 20s. But I don't sing a lot of them anymore because I find that a lot of them pretty immature, you know, have real negative attitudes about things, and I just kind of shied away from them. And now I've been writing very different songs, like most of them happier, or at least have tell more of the story than those that I did when I was 20, which were just basically raging about how I didn't have a girlfriend and I was broke all the time, you know. And it's just, some people might relate to that, but just I don't like people to hear them because it's very immature, you know. And it wasn't.
Well, see, I have a little different take on that. The things that I wrote in the beginning are things I cherish because of my immaturity, because they taught me. I mean, I think they show my vulnerable side, and they show that I wasn't, you know, the best writer or the best. I think people put too much pressure on themselves to be best instead of be authentic. And that being authentic in that moment, that's who I was. That was my authentic self when I first started writing. And of course, I was around a lot more experienced writers like Hank and Willie and stuff. And it just was, for me, they were inspiring, but they were intimidating. And why would you go write a song if you can go get one of Willie Nelson's songs? It just seemed silly to me, you know. And after my husband passed, I realized that, you know, it comes from a different place. It comes from having something to say, having a reason for your rhymes, you know, and it's just more authentic. And the older stuff, you can see I was innocent and didn't know, and I'm just as proud of that as I am of the stuff that people find are more appealing. What would you say? Or, you know, that they like better because they're more mature, as you say, you know. But
some of mine are pretty immature.
I do. We all have to go through that to get here, you know.
But I didn't really start getting serious about the guitar as an instrument, I think, until like my 30s. When I was in my 20s, I knew the basic chords and power chords and basically kind of banged around on it, but I never really thought about structure and that kind of thing the way I do now. Honestly, I learned to play the drums, and after learning to play the drums, it actually changed my understanding of how to build songs, and made a world of difference, like switching between different instruments like the bass guitar.
Absolutely.
And do you have any other instruments that you play or experiment with?
I was very spoiled. So unlike a lot of people, I was spoiled. I was afforded great pickers because I worked for companies who could hire them, and I knew who they were to go look for them. My husband was a really great guitar player and songwriter. So for most of my beginning of my career, I was spoiled. He played for me. He wrote for me. I just stood around and sang, and, you know. And when he passed over, I realized that if I was going to say anything and I was going to do this, I was going to have to learn. And so I was nearly 40. I was 39 when I picked up a guitar to say something on my own. And I was all alone on 1,100 acres. And I remembered how I thought songs went because I'd been playing with him for 20 years. And I thought that I could do it, and I just sat and practiced and practiced and practiced. And I did change a lot of things in other people's songs, but they let me get by with it because they saw that I was inspired to try. And so
let that be a lesson to you folks. It is never too late to follow your passion.
It never is, and it's never too, you know, it's never right for anyone else to tell you what you can and can't do. Because you never know when some people's inspiration doesn't come till they're later in life. where they have matured to the place that they can say, this is who I am, and I'm going to be my authentic self. And I was fortunate. I was allowed to be my authentic self, a country girl from Kentucky, from very early in my career. But like I said, when it came to the guitar and the writing, that had to come from experience and from loss and from, desperation to keep going.
Your story is inspiring. It really is.
Thank you.
I hope the people watching this will take away from it that whatever your dream is, whatever you want to do in life, you can achieve it. And it may come at a different time. It may not come when you expect it, but you will achieve it if you keep driving at it.
And I think too that, for me, the dream is the journey. And that if you're willing to adjust your dream, if you're willing to, dream something else and say, for example, this isn't the end of this journey, and be willing to change, and let your dreams conform to that. Not saying that you necessarily give up on a dream, but maybe alter that dream just a little bit to say, this is what will take me to this path. Because as long as your dream is headed toward a goal, which dreams are generally a goal-oriented thing, then you can achieve that by, being willing to change, being willing to enhance that dream, make it bigger, make it broader.
My dream is to one day host the next Woodstock. That's what I want to do. Of course you probably know the name Michael Lang. He was the guy who dreamed up Woodstock. And I've watched the Woodstock documentary probably 13 times, like the full 6 hours. I'll probably watch it again soon, because every time I watch it, I see something different. And what I saw was basically a small idea that became a big idea, and that's what I want to do. That's what I've been working on. I've been until all this. I thought I had it this year, but then the COVID came and shut it all down. I'm so angry about it. Like,
See, that's obviously, a time to stop and say, what is this meant to teach me? What can I craft? What can I hone during this time? And through my anger or through my depression or pain or whatever it may be. For me, I'm not certainly one as an entertainer who likes to be alone. I'm like an audience. But at the same time, it's like... I can pretend the audience is there. I can envision what I'm going to say when I see my next audience. Do you know what I'm saying?
You most certainly have an audience right now.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great. But what I'm saying is that, sometimes when the audience isn't sitting in the room with us right now, okay, I can envision the audience that I'm speaking to, the one I'm trying to connect to. And so that's how I dream. I dream through that connection, that something I say, something I gift of myself will connect to someone else. And that's my dream, is to connect. I want to connect.
You're very good at it too. I felt connected to you the moment I met you.
Well, thank you.
And
I think entertainers, that's the goal, as an entertainer, because everybody always asks me, well, what are you? And I tell them I'm an entertainer first. And I'm a singer second, a songwriter, and then a musician, poor musician, but a musician nevertheless. And then I play enough music to make my path to show other great musicians how to make me sound better. So.
Well, Mary, we are coming to the end of the show. You want to take us out with a song?
Sure.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and turn my mic down for this. Again, if you're just tuning in, this is Noble Garden Studios Where Stars Grow with Mary-Margaret McElrath. I'm going to let her play a song for you guys, and we're going to take it out with that, okay?
Thank you for having me today. I really appreciate it. And I think things like this are what inspire people to go forward. So,
thank you for being here. You inspire people to go forward.
This is called A Full September Moon. There's a full September moon shining down on me. There's that fool who didn't know this was how it was gonna be. There are no rules to make life easy. Just a fool Baby, without you, well, I went crazy. And without you, I lost track of time. Yes, you left me blue with nothing to save me. Just a full September moon shining down on a fool. Well, I can't go back. There's nothing there. I can't hide the fact I've got nothing left to spare. But baby, I'll make it through another blue moon with a full September moon shining down on a fool. Baby, there's a full September moon shining down on me. And there's that fool who didn't know this was how it was gonna be. There are no rules to make life easy. Just that full September moon shining down on a fool. Baby, there's a full September moon shining down on me. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, that's been it for Noble Garden Studios, where stars grow. Be sure to tune in next time, and we'll have other great artists for you guys. If I believe, do you have copies of your album?
Oh yeah, I do. Sure.
I'll tell you what, if you want to leave some of those behind, if you want to stop by the studio, she's going to leave some here, and I'll have those here for you guys, and then I'll just mail you a check or something. Thank you again for being here. I was really nervous this wasn't going to happen, because I understand your situation has been dire. So it's really special that you made it, and I had a wonderful time, Mary.
Thank you, and thank you for being so kind to me. I wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you.
Blessings.
Be kind to each other.